Okay, Assalamualaikum. Good morning. Um, from Malaysia, good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for joining this session. It's on International Online Workshop on Image Processing using Matlab. Okay, so can you view my presentation slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for responding. Okay, actually, the total participant is a lot more. Maybe they will join in bit by bit after this. But I think I to Dr. Taha, and then I think we can start lah. Okay, before that.
Yes, Doctor. Then maybe they will join us, inshallah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm very honored to host this session. So this session is organized under Faculty of Technology, Faculty of Electronic Engineering Technology, UNIMAP, University Malaysia Perlis, a university in Pahang, in collaboration with Center of Excellence, Advanced Computing, as well as the International University Erbil, Iraq. So today's session is on online international workshop. Online international workshop, which is on image processing using Matlab, image manipulation and recovery. Our speaker today is Dr. Taha, Basheer Taha, from International University. Okay, before we continue to the content of the workshop, I would like to introduce a bit for Dr. Taha. Dr. Taha, Basheer Taha, is a lecturer at International University in Erbil, Iraq, and he obtained his MSc in computer engineering from University of Mosul, Iraq, and his master degree in Institute of Architecture, Technology and Science, Shuat, India, and then he obtained his PhD in computer engineering from University Malaysia Perlis. His research interest is data hiding in digital image and video, perceptual mapping, and as well as FPGA in embedded system. Okay, before I pass the session to Dr. Taha, I would like to say that Matlab have been available for a long time, and then I've been throughout my degree, my personal degree and undergraduate, masters and PhD. I'm using Matlab for my research and for my studies. So it's a good programming tool to be used for students and researcher in order to understand the concept of engineering, as well as signal processing and all the things related with engineering and calculation and calculation everything lah. Okay, so it's a great honor for me to host this session. Okay, so in today's topic, we're focusing on image processing using Matlab. So without further ado, I would like to pass the session to Dr. Taha. So I'll stop presenting. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Zarita. I'm going to make my presentation. The slides are now. Can you see the slides?
Not yet.
Let me stop the camera then. Now?
Not yet. Not yet, Doctor. Okay, now okay.
Now it's clear?
Okay.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, thank you, Dr. Zaita, for presenting me. And also, I would like to thank all of the audience and participants from my lecturers and other participants for joining us in this this workshop, which will going to talk about image manipulation and recovery using Matlab. We are going to go for this workshop in general, in starting with basics for people who didn't know, has previous knowledge about Matlab, and also in image processing in general. And then we are going to go for deep and details. We are going to end with our recent paper that's published in the engineering conference at University Mazi Parlis, which is related to tamper detection and recovery, how we can recover images. So we are going to start from the beginning, from elementary level, and we end to some advanced features. My sound is clear for everybody?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So first,
Sorry, Taha, just to interrupt. I've posted a link for the attendance for day 1. So in the meantime, the participant can also fill in the links lah.
okay.
Okay, continue.
Yes. First of all, we are going to talk about the wide distribution of digital images. These are some statistics that have been shared with in the Data Never Sleep report that we have more than 500,000 photos shared in Snapchat every minute. And for other social media like Instagram, we are going to have more than 46,000 photos in 1 minute. For Facebook, we have 3 million photos that get uploaded every day, and for Instagram, we have about 95 million photos or video that's shared on it. So this will lead us to a question. By having all of these numbers of images and video, can we sort the real from fake images? Of course, it's a big deal and it's very difficult to find that out. So we need, according to that, we need to have an automated algorithms that's used to detect the real images, and also if it has any alteration. And it will be better if we could recover the original data from the manipulated one. And this is what we are going to aim in our workshop for these 2 days, inshallah. Our workshop agenda will start with the first part, which is the introduction. In the introduction, we are going to talk about the digital image processing and how images are represented in the computer system by using pixels, and what is the pixels and types of pixels. Then we are going to go to this type of digital images. Are the images all the same, or they have different types according to their implementation or representation? Then we are going to take simple code about reading images and modifying them using Matlab. We are going to read the image, how you can see the pixel value, how we can change that pixel value or transform the images from one type to another using simple Matlab operations. Then we are going to talk about some image pre-processing, which are some operations that we can make for images in one single command in Matlab or even in another applications. And we are going to finish the introduction with the differentiation between time domain and transform domain for digital images. So we have different representation of images, even in the time and then to the transform domain as any digital signal. This will be the introduction, and from the transform domain and its importance, we are going to take one integer-based transformation that's used to transform images from time to transform domain, which is the lifting wavelet transform that presented by Sweldes in 1995. So we are going to talk about it, why it's used, what its features, and then what are the steps to convert that image from time domain to frequency domain. And then we are going to study a mathematical example of lifting wavelet transform. That means we are going to take an image and we are going to make all the calculations step by step, so that by mathematics, by using equations. This will lead us to be able to implement the lifting wavelet transform in any programming language. As you are going to see, we don't need a special application to do that, even if you are going to explain on MATLAB, but it can be done using any programming language like Python, like Flutter, or any other programming language that the programmer used to use in his programming. So the lifting wavelet transform can easily be implemented, and we're going to take an example of 4x4 image using paper, like in paper, and then we are going to apply it using the MATLAB. Our other session is the image tamper detection and recovery. According to that, we are going to go to the algorithm that we proposed for that reason, to detect the changes in image, the iteration, and also retrieving our data. We are going to use the MATLAB codes for that reason, and then we are going to go for the results and how we can suggest what are the suggestions that we have to enhance this work. This is in general our agenda for today, inshallah, and tomorrow presentations. Digital image processing in general, it's anything that related to digital images that are created by computer. So how the computer presenting the image, before we were using just hard copies of images, but now most of the images are using the in computer, and we are sharing them in mobile systems. So how the computer can understand this is an image, how it can be shown to the on the screen. The first thing that we have is the pixels as the unit of images. The images consist of set of pixels, which is the smallest unit, or the picture element as it used to be said about it, which is if you are going to zoom this image, for example, in this part, we are going to see each one of them in just one pixel or one color in a certain area, certain squared area. And in general, we are going to zoom out, we are going to have the image like that. The number of pixels in a certain row or a certain column for that image is determine the resolution of the image. That's why whenever we have more pixels, we are going to have better resolution for the image and more accurate data. Digital images had different types according to the representation of one pixel. So if the pixel has 3 colors, for example, which is the RGB, which is the red, green, blue, and each color is a set of, it's a number between 0 and 255. The mixture between these colors will give us a certain color on the image of the pixel, in the pixel of the image. This is called the colored image, which has 3 elements, and each one of them is a value of 3 colors, which is R, G, and B. And by changing these values, we are going to get the pixel color that as we show here. The other type is the grayscale image. The grayscale image is just one value, but this value is between 0 and 255. 0 represents the black color and 255 represents the white color. And the gray is between these two values. As we see that this is the grayscale image. The other part, which is the simplest one, which is the black and white or binary images. The binary image is nothing more than just 0 or 1. If the value is 1, so it will be a white. If it's 0, it's a black. So the representation of this images will be, of course, require less memory, but of course the accuracy of the image and the, how it's clear is less than the grayscale, and the grayscale is less than RGB images. Now we are going to see how MATLAB reading images. We are going to depend on the grayscale images so that we can see how it can be done. In MATLAB, we are going to read image. And when we are reading the image, we are going to read every pixel in that image according to its value. So by running this command in Matlab, and we read the image and put it inside a variable called I, the result of that is this one. It will show us every pixel value according to its location in vertical or horizontal row and column. So if I'm going to find, I read the image, I equal image read for image one, for example, this one that I have, as we're going to see now and run in Matlab. If I'm going to read it, I can see all the pixels of it. And also I can change the value or modify each pixel by finding its coordinates for the X and Y. So, for example, if I have this image of 15 of 200, I will have a certain value. If I have a value of I of 7 and 9, let's say, so we are going to go to the 7 row with the 9 column. So the value will be according to that, or that pixel is 138. So let's say how to manipulate that. First, I'm going to write I equal image read. I go to the folder where the image is saved. In my folder, it will be saved on images, image one. It is the same folder where the Matlab file is saved, and the extension of the image, which is the bitmap. And then I'm going to go to image show. Image show will show me that image. And if I'm going to run, for example, X as any variable equal I of 15 of 200, it will give me the value of that pixel and put it inside I. And by the way, when I'm using image read, automatically the I will become as an array of 2 dimensions, as you are going to see here. Also, we can see each pixel value in the image, I mean like this one, by using this command, image pixel info, as we are going to see it inside our example. Let's open the Matlab and run this command. I will open the Matlab. For participants who just for the first time opening the Matlab, I'm going to show what are the steps. I open the Matlab here. I'm going to go to new script. Is the Matlab screen is appear?
Yes, it appears.
Okay. So I go to script and I'm going to write my code that I already have here. Image read image one.bmp, and I'm going to save that in the file that I have. My code, it will be saved in the same folder where the images is found. This is the images, this folder, and image one is inside that folder. So I'm going to name it as my code, let's say, Matlab file, and we are going to run it. When we run, we can see that the image is here, and if I go to the Matlab, I can see the I. This is the image that's shown here. Each image pixel value is appear in this array. We can use this command image pixel info so that after image show, so that when I'm going to run, whenever I move the mouse on any place, I can see the pixel value here in the intensity of the pixel. You can see the coordinates of X and Y and what is the coordinates of that image. For example, this pixel is 123 by 20 and it's 140 as intensity of it. So any question according to this? I'm going to start with this very simple command. Any question about it, or we go on?
If you have any question, don't be shy. You can also type in the chat box. I will read it out for Dr. Taha.
Yeah.
Is it possible later to get these codes, please, in a
To
file?
get,
I mean, to
But
share the code, this
of
writing
course,
the
yeah,
code,
of
because
course. By
we
the
are
end,
new in this field. We would
okay,
like to learn.
okay,
okay.
with pleasure, with
Thank you very
pleasure.
much.
Okay, okay. So now, what we are going to do, we just read the image. And when we read it, we get it to the eye. Because I want to start with this point. If you understand it, we can go, because I'm going to go for deep, step by step. I'm not going to make it complicated, step by step. So from the beginning, you can catch to the end, inshallah. And then I'm going to go to the image show to display the image here. And then the image pixel info is to show me this coordinates in the down of the image. And for example, this one, x of I equals 15 by 200. I just want to show the value of that pixel, which is 139, if I want to get a value of a certain pixel. Okay. Now, let me go to another code, which is, I'm going to go for it, which is how to convert the image from grayscale to binary. I'm going to copy this code and explain it. By the way, we are using Matlab, but I will try to use some statements that are common in any programming languages, like if statement and for, so that if you are aware about another languages, you just need to read that image, and when you get the pixel, you can manipulate it. So for this one, what I need to do, I need to convert this image that I have here from grayscale to binary. That means I need to convert the image from this one, the gray, to the binary. What I will do, I have something called the threshold. How? Because in binary, I have either 0 or 1, but in the grayscale, I have 255 shade. So what I need to do in this case, I need to decide this pixel, which is gray, it's either be black or white, one of the two options. I have nothing more in binary. So what I will do in the code, I would read pixel by pixel. And if the pixel is more than 128, which is the middle between 0 and 256, then consider it as white. If it is less than that, consider it as black. So either it will be black or white for all of them. So I'm going to check them pixel by pixel and decide if it's black or white according to its value. So first I read the image, and the image is saved inside a variable called img. And here for I equal 1 to 512, this is the size of how many rows that I have in that image. If you can see, if I go to the image to the end of it, you can see that we have 512 in the end, that last pixel. And for the top also the same. So I'm going to go for I and J. For I for the rows, J for the column, and I'm going to say if the image that I saved it of I and J, because as we said that the image is saved as an array. So each array has row and column. So I will start row by row until I finish it. If it is more than 128, consider it as 1. Else, that means it is less or equal to 128, consider it as 0. Okay, so I will go for each pixel and decide for them. And after that, I finish the end. I want to image show. If you see that image show now will have the variable double. The reason is that if I'm going to use the normal image that I get, it will consider 0 and 1 as the grayscale that I used before, which is both of them will be about to be black. But if I use double, I am going to get the binary, either 1 or 0. So let me run this one. And you can see that the image here is black and white only. The image here is black and white. If you want to compare the two images, let me write figure, because I will to make two figures. Figure 1, I'm going to write image show. Inside integer, because this first one is integer and the other one figure 2. This will be the original image, and figure 2 will be here. I will show the first one after the read, and after I make the operation, I'm going to show the other one. Okay, so this is the before the operation of grayscale, and this is after before operation of binary for this for. So I show figure 1, and after it, I'm going to show this is the result of binary. If you want the negative of that image, just change this to be less. That means if it's less than 128, make it 1, otherwise make it 0. So it will have a negative colors. So I'm going to run it again. You can see that we have the negative here. Okay, I'm going to continue now, if there is no question. Dr. Zaita is monitoring the comments. If you would like to write something, if there's any question in the comments, please tell me.
Right now, there's no question. You can continue, Doctor.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to talk about some image preprocessings that, as we convert the image from grayscale to binary. We want to continue some other operations. For example, the geometric operation. For example, the cropping, resizing images, or rotating images. These are some of geometric operations on images. And if you see that, if you are going to read an image, for example, I, and then you say that, or for example, J, let me just show the pointer. If I read that image, like I did now, and then just use J equal image rotate. Okay, if I use the image rotate, it will, for example, by -5, it will rotate the image like that. So just by single command, we can make a rotation for the image. This is one of the geometric operations. Another one is for image enhancement, which is, for example, if I have this image, I'm going to write image adjustment, which is going to balance the contrast and of the image. So it will be changed from this one to this one by only single command, or like to have some details like this. This is for image enhancement. These are some operations on images that we can run in Matlab. Image compression, if you see that we have these two images, to the eye, they are approximately similar because we are not zooming them so much. But if we don't need the zoom, this one is the default bitmap image with 4 mega. However, after JPG compression, we are going to get it about 355 kilobyte. So the size, it has a big difference, but if the quality is not important to us, or it's just enough for us, we don't need to go for further, etc. size. Image encryption means that when I'm going to send the image, I don't want to send the same image. I want to give it some code, or to scramble the pixels of that image, and then I have the key to return them back. So this one, also one of the image preprocessing operations. If you want to send an image or you want to hide an image, you can use some scrambling or some keys and change the locations of pixels so that you can have it in the beginning like that. But when you send it, you send it as encrypted, so nobody can read it or know the contents of this image unless they have, for example, the key or the algorithm that's used to encrypt that image. Another one is the edge detection, which is used, for example, to get the elements, or to separate or make segmentation of elements. One of the edge detection ideas is how, for example, that we are using now in Google Meet. So if you just get the boundaries of the person, of the presenter, we can take these boundaries and subtract the background and change it to the custom background that we have. So of course, edge detection is one of the most important image processing operations. So these are some of image processing operations that are pre-processing, but now we are going to go to the transform domain and time domain, how to change the image from one domain to another. First of all, let's say why we need to make this transformation. For example, let's go to the mathematics first. What is the transform domain? They found that any image, any signal can be mapped to set of, for example, sine and cosine waves. And we can implement the image by frequency. We can implement that sine by frequency. But in image processing, why we need to transform the image from one domain to another? It's because the human eye cannot perceive when we have a sudden change in the image pixels. When I have a change from one place to another, for example, when I have a change in the pixels from between the mountain and the sky, I want an operation that show me that there is a change in that pixels, or even in the surface of the mountain. We have different pixels, and these different pixels have different values. So how much that change is it, and how can I take advantage of it? If we apply the frequency domain or transform domain, we are going to transfer the image from this place, as this image to this one. This one is the original one, and this one is after the lifting wavelet transform, for example. If you see, I don't know if it's clear for you, that this one shows us the high frequency coefficients. If you are passing the image to a high pass filter, you are going to see this one. If you are passing it to low pass filter, you are going to see this one. Now, what's the importance of this? First, for the high frequency, I can use the details, and if it's not important to me, I can eliminate them. And here I got the same image but in a smaller size, which called this one approximation band, and this is the details band. Here we have something between the two. They are not high frequency and not approximation or low frequency, but this is in between them. Why we are using that? Any operation of the image that we are going to use, if we make any change on these frequencies, the change will not appear and will not affect the image because it's on the details band. It's not on the approximation band that has the most important details of the image. However, if I'm going to make a change inside the approximation band, it will be very clear. And for example, if I want to hide some data, I want to add my metadata, I want to, as we are going to see in the image tamper detection, I want to get some information from the image and distribute it to other pixels. Where are these information? From where I can get them as a small image, I can get them from the approximation band. So transform domain is very important, but the problem of it has, if anybody read about Fourier transform, for example, it will need some complex and imaginary numbers, complex operations. These operations are difficult to be solved in processors, and also to require a lot of time. So we need a way that's going to be used to make that transform easy and fast. Before I go to talk about lifting the transform, we just know that we have different transform domain, and if you see research paper that are using them, for example, the SVD, the discrete cosine transform, discrete wavelet transform, as we said that it depends on Fourier transform, and we have the lifting wavelet transform. Lifting wavelet transform is the second generation of discrete wavelet transform, as we are going to see. All of these transforms are used to transform images from time domain to frequency domain, so we can get some features of the image, and these features we can use it to, for example, image compression, hiding data, or any other image processing operation that require that frequency domain. Here I'm going to go to the lifting wavelet transform, we're going to start with some advanced topic and how to transform the image from time to frequency. In the result, what I need to do, I need to use the lifting wavelet transform to get these bands of the image so that I can get a small version of the image, but with the same contents of it. Okay, and also this is my goal is to transform. And by the way, this operation is reversible. That means if we have these four, we can go back and get the original image. And this is what we are going to do. Okay. Let me just give you to make it more clear why we are going to use this in this workshop. Why is that? I'm going to take this image again and divide it again and get a small image with more important features of it. And then I'm going to distribute that small part to all image areas. Later on, if somebody make any change in the image, I'm going to retrieve from these parts the important part of the image, and I will be able to recover the original one. This is the idea. This is how we can take advantage of the lifting wavelet transform. To get a small instance of the image, hide it inside the pixels of the image, and then at any time, I will be able to retrieve my data. So if someone altered that image in a certain portion, other portions will recover and return me back the original image. So this is one of the benefits of transform domain, and in our case is the lifting wavelet transform. So what's lifting wavelet transform? It's introduced by Sweldens in 1995. It's considered the second generation of wavelet, which is simpler, and does not depend on Fourier transform. It is only integer-based calculation. That means you don't need a floating number, and this helps us a lot to implement that transform using the FPGA devices, for example. So even in mobile application, real-time application, lifting wave transform would be the great solution. So in lifting wavelet transform, if we compare it to the DWT, which is the convolution structure, it will use less number of mathematical operations. The implementation area is less. It has less power consumption. The design is simple, not that complex. And also it has the in-place calculation. That means it doesn't need to save the transform domain image in another memory, but it's just going to replace the pixel by another pixel. So the same memory that's going to be used for the original image, it can be used for the transform image. So it will be utilize a lot of memory for us. And also it's an integer to integer calculation, as we are going to see. Any question so far? Is it that clear? Or is it that difficult, I'm going to say?
Hopefully everybody can understand the topic very well. Anybody? Any question?
Okay, no questions. Okay, I'm going to continue. Lifting wavelet transform implementation steps. How we are going to implement it? We have three major steps to apply the image and transfer it from this shape, which is the pixels of the time domain, and to the coefficients of the transform domain. The first step is split, which is what? I want to get another copy of the data, but in a small size, or the compact presentation of it. So it's like cutting the image by scissor to two parts. But what we can do, these two parts that I am going to cut, if I'm cutting it from the middle, I will not tell what is the left side from the right side, or vice versa. I need to find a way that I'm going to cut the pixel, cut the image into two parts, but in the same way, I can retrieve my original data. That means if I have the left side, I can't tell what is the right side, and so on. So the solution of that, that presented by students, is to separate the image into even and odd samples. That means the pixel in 0 and 2 and 4 and so on is going to be the even pixels, and the odd ones will be 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. So we're going to have two. We're going to deal them. We're not really to get each pixel and separate it, but when we are going to deal with them in the next step, we are going to say that this is odd, this is even, this is odd, this is even, so we can know about it. So we want first to make a division between the two. And if you know that in any image pixel, in image representation, they said that the pixel should have a gradient change. If it doesn't have a gradient change, it's a noise. That means I cannot, for example, approximately move from a pixel to the value of, let's say, 40 to 255. Even if I have an age, it should be some gradient change to the one. For example, if I have this the sky here, most of it's a gradient change. Here, when I have it, I'm going to even have some pixels to go to the dark and then go to the gray and then go to the white. Even it will not be just a simple change, direct change. It should have some let's say gradient change, not an instant one. That's why we can tell the odd pixels from the even, and we can tell what are the even from the odd, as we're going to see in the following question. The following step is the predict. I'm going to do what? What's the prediction? I'm going to predict the pixel in the odd position from its two neighbors on the left and right. For example, if I have a pixel, let's say that I have pixel value as 7 in the odd position, in the even first, and then the other one is 9. I'm going to expect that this one here is what, according to them, if I have a gradient change, it should be 8. So, because we expect that it is a gradient change, accordingly, what I'm going to do, the pixel in the odd position is predicted by the value of two neighbors, this one and this one, okay, in even positions. And the difference between the real value, for example, it wasn't 8, it was, for example, let's say it was, let's say 6, okay? The difference between the real value and the predicted value is called the details band. What does that mean? If the value is big, that means the difference is not a linear difference. It is having some changes. So if it has these changes, that means it's a high frequency change, which is going to show as here in the details band. Because if you see here, what is the area in this place, in the surface of the mountain, between the mountain and the sky, it's very clear in the details band. Why is that? Because there is a sudden change in the image, and which is called the details band. So the difference between the original one and the predicted one is that is the details band that we're going to find. The third step, we have the first, we said that we have the split, and then we are going to have the predict, which is will give us the details band. And according to the details band, I'm going to find the update, which will help us to find the approximation band, which is S. What's the idea of S? As you see that the S is the approximation band, this one. What is the idea of this one? The idea of it is that I can get the same pixel, with the same image or the same signal from another. I can make it the same, but in less size if I just divide it by 2. Okay, so if I use the same image, for example, size of 512 by 512, I just make it 256 by 256. I can get the same image, the same idea, but half of the energy. So I want to get the approximation band in this area according to that. So what I will do in the update. In update, I'm going to have what? Even sample are taking. So, and I'm going to be considered as the average of their twos. As we said that before, we have 7, 9 as odd. I will not take 7 and 9. I will just take the 8. Okay, suppose that we have 10 here and 11. This is odd. Okay, or this is even. It depends if you are starting from the first position as 0 or as 1. Depends. For example, Matlab starts with 1, others start with 0. Depends on the application. So I'm going to predict that instead of taking 7 and 9, I'm going just to take 8. And instead of taking 9 and 11, I'm just going to get 10. So that means I'm going to get the average. I consider it the average of the 2 odd. That's enough for me. And I'm going to consider it, this is my signal, nothing else. But however, we said that it's not always it's the average of the 2 pixels, because not always we have this gradient change. So I'm going to write what? I'm going to write the difference that I got from previous step. As we said that in details band, we are getting the difference between real value and predicted value. So I'm going to get the 8 as average and then update it with the value of D that's going to be found in the previous step. So even samples taken to be considered as the average of their 2 adjacent, and then we are going to update these values with the value that I got from the details band. And the produced signal will be approximately the same as the one of the original, as we saw in this example, and maybe it's here, it's more clear. Okay, let me just delete this. That's why in the approximation band, we are going to have the same as this image, because it took the average, and then after the average, it takes the difference between them. So in the result, we got the same image, but in the smaller size. So now we said that we have these two, which is the split, predict, and update. What is predict and update? Okay, so these need some equations, and as we said that we want to make a complete equation for that. So let's see them after we are going to see the flowchart of it. We have the original signal. We go to the split, odd and even. We are going to use them, the odd and even, by predict step, and then the even minus the difference of the odd. We are going to have the details band here. So from the predict, we got the details band. The value that I have here from the predict, I'm going to update it with the what? With the even values. So that I said that I consider the even is that one, is the difference between the two. But then we update it with the value that I get from the details coefficient. So I'm going to add them to update and get the approximation back. This is the forward lifting Fourier transform. When I get the approximation band and details band, and I want to go back to the first one, I'm going to get this approximation band and do the same steps, but in reverse. I'm going to update first and then predict and merge them together to get the original signal again. We are going to see how to do that inside lifting Fourier transform. So in brief, By the way, after 5 minutes, I'm going to just give some time if you want to have a pen and paper, if you want to apply the equations that we are going to have in a paper so we can solve it together. I will give some time after 5 minutes after I just explain this slide. First, separate elements to odd and even. This is the first step. The predict equation is, as we said, it's the odd minus the average of its two pixels among it. That means what? That means d of I, let's I equal 0. Okay, so d of I is x of 2i plus 1. 2 multiplied by 0 plus 1, so it will be x of 1. That means I have the 1. So I have 1, the value of 2i plus 1, minus what I have here. I have the value, but by the way, it's the index of the pixel, but it should maybe have some value here. But I'm going to use the same just now. 2x of 2i, 2 multiplied by 0. So what is the value here? Plus this one divided by 2. That means the average of these two. After that, I'm going to get the D, the details band. For updates, I'm going to use this equation. This is the DI that I got, and also the other DI minus 1, the previous DI get it here. I'm going to use these two equations to get S and D, step by step, by using this example. I'm going to give 5 minutes if anybody have a question, and also if you want to bring a paper and pen and try to solve it with me together, even or by notes of mobile, and we are going to be back. If you have questions during this time, please ask. Otherwise, I'm going to continue in 5 minutes. Dr. Zaita, you can take the mic, please.
Right now, there is no question, Dr. Taha.
Okay,
Maybe
Dr.
if you want to ask directly to during the
Yeah, I'm going
session.
to give just 5 minutes before I go to the mathematics, because in mathematics we are going to need.
So far, so how everybody's finding this the content so far? How is it?
Yeah.
Any response?
By the way, the following part will be related to mathematics, not only to computer. And it's also related to computer science and anyone for applying the transformation of image from time to frequency as well.
Okay. Since there is no question, maybe I can use this intermediate to, can I get everyone just for the purpose of recording this workshop, can I get everyone to turn on their camera for just 1 or 2 minutes so that we can take pictures for a while? A screen to print screen. Okay, wait. I need to change the layout. Is it okay, Dr. Taha? Doctor, you also didn't on your camera? Okay. So.
I did, Doctor, I did.
Okay, okay. I tried to change the view so that we can get more. Dr. Taha, can you stop presenting for 1 minute?
Yes. Yes, yes, I did.
Okay, okay. Now, okay. Anybody want to turn on the camera just for 1 minute so that I want to capture the just for purpose of record this. Okay, thank you who already turned on the camera. Okay, now you can. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Please smile. Wait. Anybody want to turn on the camera? Wait. Okay, now Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. It's raining here in Malaysia, so sorry. It's a bit noise. Okay, wait. This is the second picture. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, I think I've got okay, good picture already. Not everyone. Okay. Okay, I think so we can continue back to the session. Okay, if you have any question, don't be shy. Just ask through the chat book there, chat box here in the side, on the side. And or you can just turn on your microphone and ask directly to Dr. Taha. So, okay, I think Dr. Taha, you can continue.
Okay, Doctor. You go to the presentation. Somebody is asking about
I
the
hope you
link.
can also join to calculate with Dr. Taha as well. So in some way we can understand about this lifting procedure as well.
Okay. I will go. Now you are seeing my screen, right? You need to turn off the camera. My screen is clear, Doctor? Doctor, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. In this
Sorry,
example,
I respond,
we
but
are
I
going
forgot to
to yeah, okay, okay. In this part, we are going to take an example for lifting wavelet transform and how to apply it in mathematics, and then we are going to apply it in Matlab as well. But when you are going to understand it here, you are going to be able to use it in any equation of transform domain. If anybody needs to make this transformation instead of using Fourier, or if it needs for image processing in any other language. So I'm going to get an image like this one, 4x4, and the same procedure will be applied if we have larger images, but because we, for the time, I'm going to use just one simple example for that. Suppose that I read the image, which is 4x4, this one, I named it as I, and I want to apply the lifting wavelet transform on it. First, I'm going to consider the first row, because as you know, the lifting wavelet transform, it can be first applied by one-dimensional signal and also two-dimensional signal. What is the difference between the two? The difference is that just you are going to apply it in multiple rows instead of one. So I'm going to apply it now for the first row, and then we go to the next one and so on. Now, the sample that I have for the first row is this one, which is x equals 1, 3, 9, and 5. These are the elements, okay, that I have. And for the split, we said that x of 2i plus 2, x of 2i plus 4, and so on, they are the even. We are having the odd, and we have the even. So if I equals 0, okay, so the index of this is 0, the index of this is 1, the index of this is 2, the index of this is 3. For I equals 0, if I equals 0, x of 2i, that means x of I multiplied by 2, and 2 multiplied by 0 multiplied by 2 is 0, so it will be x0. If x of 2i plus 2, that means the other element is x of 0 plus 2, that will be that one. So 9 and 1 are the even samples. Is it clear? Any question for this, or it's required to be repeated? If there is no question, I'm going to continue. Dr. Izzat, can just check the comments, please. Which is 1 and 9. Now,
No question.
For same, I equals 0, what is the I? If I equals 0, what's the odd? Odd is x of 2i plus 1, that means 2 multiplied by 0 plus 1, which is x1, and x of 2i plus 3, which will be x3. So x of index 1, x of index 3 are the odds, which is the 3 and 5. We need to keep this in our minds that the 1 and 9 are the odd, are the even coefficients. As you said that when we are going to go to the transform domain, we name the pixel as a coefficient. And 3 and 5 will be the odd ones. So I just keep it here so it can be in our minds. Okay. So now we complete the first step, which is the split to even and odd. The second step, want to use integer, we use the floor operation. As we know, the floor operation is to take the floating point and eliminate it to be the smallest integer. For example, 3.5, it become 3. Minus 3.5, it will become 4, let's say, the smallest integer. So now let's go to the equation D, or details meant. We see that D is x of 2i plus 1, which is the odds, the first two odd, and floor of all of this. Okay? What it is the floor of what? Of the average of the two pixels, of the two even pixels. What are the even pixels? 1 and 9. So we want to find the average of these two and divide them by 2. By dividing by 2, we are going to have the average. And then we are going to add the value of the details band of the odd pixel. So if I equals 0, d of I is d of 0. That means the first d of 0, because I'm having I as 0, equals x of 2i plus 1. I is 0, x of 2i, that means it's also 0 plus 1, so x of 1, minus half of x of 2i, 0 multiplied by 2, 0. 2i plus 2 is also 2. So what we are going to have here, we are going to have d0 is x1 minus half x0 plus x2. So according to that, d of 0 will equal to what? X of 1, what is the value? What's x of 1? Is 3. This is x of 1. Minus the average of what? Of x0 and x2. And the floor of that average. So what's the average of x0? x0 is 1. x2 is 9 divided by 2. According to that, we are going to have d0 equals 3 minus 10 over 2, which equals 5. So value, which is d0, will equal to minus 2. The first d0 value will equal to minus 2. As we are going to see here, d0 is 3 minus.
So we
Recite
have
it so I
Ong
can
Zijin
understand better.
respond in the chat room is -2. So it's same with the answers that have been provided.
Yeah, great. Great, yes, it's true. So it's minus 2. According to that, we have the first value of details band. Now we go to the predict. And before predict, we need to go for d if I equals 1. Until what we are going to do? We are going to go until we end all of the rows when we have nothing else to remind. Let me go to the pen. So we have I equal 1 now. We go to the next one. For d of 1, okay, so equal x of 2i plus 1. Remember now, I just make another I equals 1. So x of 2i plus 1. So I have 2 multiplied by 1 equal 2 plus 1 x 3. So I have x of 3. Okay, and I just to remind you, I keep this here from the first step, which is the split step. Okay, so x3 we know that it's 5, right? And now minus the average of x of 2 and x of 4. If you go back here, we have x of 0, 1, 2, 3. We don't have x of 4 because the image is ended. We reach the end of our image, so we are going to consider it as 0 because there is no value. I reach the end of the image. According to that, I'm going to have x of 3 is minus 5 minus 9 plus 0 because x2 is 9, as we know here. Okay, plus 0 divided by 2. So 5 minus 9 over 2 is 4.5. The floor of 4.5 is 4. So it will be 5 minus 4. And the result is 1 in this case. So D1, D of 0, of index 0 was minus 2. D of 1, it will be 1. According to that, we have completed the first row of D. Okay, so if we see that, this is the first row of D. Because we have in the original image 4 rows, as we said, our image is 4 by 4, we're going to have 4 of them. But now, for the first row, we completed that one. So this is our first row that we got. In the same way, I'm not going to repeat it. We are going to continue with the second, third, and fourth row, and we are going to get these values. We are going to get these values. So this one called the D band. This one is called the details band, that we are going to use it as the left part of the image. Let me show you the steps that we are going to have. We have the image, and then we are going to divide it like that to S band and D band. And now each one of these two will be divided into further 2 other bands. So S will be divided into 2 parts, 1 and 2, which is the approximation band, and this one, D, and this one also will be another S and D. And this is the approximation that we want, and this is the middle frequency, and this is the highest frequency. So now what we did, these are our steps. We did this one. Okay, until now we reached this point. We created the D. Now let's create the S. And it's very important that you complete the D before we go to the S. Why is that? Because S depending on the D, as we said. So we go to the third step, which is the update. What is the equation of S? The equation of this S band, it will be as follows. S band, in this case, of I equal x of even 1 plus the floor of 1 over 4 of D minus I minus 1 plus D of I. The derivative of this, if we want to drive it, we have a completed drive for that. If somebody wants to say why it's 1 over 4, we have a complete explanation for that, but I'm not going to waste time with this now. But this is the equation of x of 2i, s of I, according to that. So s of I is equal to the even 1 plus D of I minus 1 plus di. That means what d of I minus 1? The previous D and the current D that we have. Okay, we know that now we are dealing with the first row. I'm dealing with this row, and for this row, the D is this one. So just suppose that we are going to have only one line of elements, and that's all. Let's apply S. I want to find the S band next to this one. Okay, I want to find the S band, as we said here and here. So what is the value of S? Which is will be the approximation band. As we said, we are going to use this one, this line. So S of I equal x of 2I plus 1 over 4 d of I minus 1 plus d of I. So if I equal 0, suppose that I equal 0, then x of 2I equal x of 0 and equal of 1. So this is, as we said before, this is the x of 0. And d of I minus 1. If I equal 0, what is d of I minus 1? That means d of minus 1. We have no d before this because this is d of 0 that we just calculated. And this is d of 1 that we also calculated. So according to that, I don't have d of minus 1. So we don't have minus 1 index, so it will be 0. I will consider it as 0 because there is no value. As we did in the when we found the details band, when we reach the end of the image, we have no x of 4. So we consider it as 0. So now we don't have d of minus 1, so we consider it as 0. And d of 0, okay, because we want d of I, is minus 1. So this is d of I, 0 exists. So let's write the equation. S of 0 equals x of 0, because if I equals 0, 1 over 4 of d of minus 1, d of I minus 1, and d of I, which is d of 0. Let's fill them together. S of 0 equal 1, which is the odd value, which one, because the first one, x of 0, this one, plus over for what? D of minus 1, we said 0. D of 0 is minus 2. So we add them together. So it will be 1 plus floor of minus 0.5. Floor of minus 0.5, the smallest integer number that have the most floor number that we are going to have, it will be minus 1. If it's 0.5, it will be 0. But if it's minus 0.5, it will be minus 1. So 1 plus minus 1 equal to 0. And this is the value of S0 that we're going to have here, as you are going to see. So this is the value of S. Accordingly, we are going to find the x of 1 when I equal 1. So we have d of I minus 1. 1 minus 1 equal 0. So we have d of 0, which is minus 2. And d of 1, we have it also. It says 1 here. So s of 1 equals x of 2i. That means x of I equal 1 multiplied by 2, so it's be 2. So x of 0, x of 1, of 2, so it's 9, plus d of 0 plus d of 1 minus 2 plus 1, that means these two together, divided by 4, 9 plus minus 0.5, so it will be 8. So I'm going to have 0 and 8. This is the value of S that we have. This is the file that we found. If you are going to fill them as we did in the D, the same way, you are going to get this approximation band. So I want to say that I have S and I have B. That means I divided the image into two parts. The first one for the S and the other one for the D. And then we are going to divide S and D again using the second decomposition to get S1 and D1 from S, S2 and D2 from the D. So before I continue, is there any question or we move on, Doctor? Is my voice clear? You hear
Yes,
me?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, doctor. If there's no question from the participant, I ask you a question instead.
Yeah. Okay, doctor.
What is the benefit of having this code coded directly than compared to to use the code from the Matlab itself? Because I believe Matlab has their own function for lifting or for wavelet, for example.
Yes, doctor. Thank you. This code, that the benefit of it, if we are using embedded systems, for example, and I use the VHDL or any other language that doesn't have the official functions of Matlab. It's necessary that I can use that, and I know how to use the equation so that I can use it in different applications, in different programming languages that doesn't offer these services of Matlab. Okay, so this is the main reason of using that. So I can use it in any system, in any embedded system, real-time system, and not depends on the Matlab for that. Thank you for your question, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Okay.
Now I want to apply the second decomposition. By the way, each application of lifting with the transform. Now you are seeing it, maybe it's long because I'm explaining step by step, but after it's get to be understood, the MATLAB will, or any programming language, by just using simple for statements and if statements, and that's all will apply the lifting wavelet transform in a very easy way. So it's not that big difficult. It's just the loops, and it will apply them and give images like with the decomposition. However, we need to understand it so we can program it in any programming language that we want. Now what I want to do, I have the S, and I want to get from S, as we said, I want to get S1 and D1, so that in the end I'm going to get that S1, which is the approximation band, which has the important features of the image. So I will take the first column of S. Now, before we are using by row, but now since we have column by column, we want to divide this into two parts, one for the approximation and the other one for the details band. So I want to get S, so I have to get D before S because S depends on the details band. I'm going to get x0 equals 0 for the first one. Okay, x1 equals 7. So this is x of 0, x of 1, x of 2 equals 6, and x of 3 equals 5. The same that we did before in the row, but now we are doing it in column wise. And I'm going to apply the same equation again, and for the S to be divided into D1 and D2, into S1 and D1. D of I equal, as we said, 2f x to I minus 1 over 2. So it's the same equation that we are going to have. So x of 2i, that means if I equal to 0, so d1 of 0, look, now I'm not saying d, I'm saying d1 because it is a part of the d. So x1 for 2i plus 1 minus x0 plus x2. x0 plus x2, which is 0 plus 6. So the result will be 4. Similarly, if I'm going to use D, I'm going to get what's the value that I have to do D1, the same way. But I'm going to get 6 and 2 for it, and then you're going to get the same way for that. Is it difficult now to find? Of course, it will be simple because we got D, but before we got D, the same way we are going to apply for the other D, so we get minus 2 and 4. So we go to the update step. We have the D1, which is now, now we got the first one, the second one will be the same. So we got finally the D1. D1 is that one that we used here. This is the D1. And if you are talking about the original image, D1, the first one that we got, let me go back a little bit. So far, this one is D1. Now we found this one. And we are our way to find that one. So let's go for it. Let's go to the update step to get the approximation band. We are going to go to S1 of 0 equals 0 plus 4 by 4. Why? D of I minus 1. Okay, what is I minus 1? If I is 0, I minus 1 is D of minus 1. We don't have D of minus 1, so it will be 0. So it will be 0 plus D of I. D of 0 is this one, which is 4. 0 plus 4. So 4 over 4 is 1. What is the x of 2i? It was 0, as we said here. It is in that case. This is x of 2i, x of 0. That one. So I'm going to get, after that, the result is 1. Next, the other d, it will be d of I, if I equal 1, d of I minus 1, that means d of 0. D of 1 plus d of 1, because I equal 1. So 4 plus 2, which is 6, divided by 2. So it will be 6 plus 6 over 4. And the floor of it, the floor of 6 over 4 is 1. So it will be 7. So we got the D here. This is how to find the first column of S. If we apply it here again for the other column, we are going to get the 7 and 4 for the other S. According to that, if I have the image that I got, I will get this is D2 and this is S2 for the same way for the other part of the image, because we said that after LWT, we are going to find 4 portions. This one we calculated, and this the other 2 that we got. This is S2 and this is D2. According to that, if we have the original image after LWT, this one will get us to this result. And if you see, it's very clear that the approximation band is the most important one because it has no negative values. And the image that we started with is an integer image like this one. So this is the approximation band of this image that we can use it as in the future, that the important features of that image that's going to be hidden in other parts of it. Okay, so this was, if you apply it on real size images, the first step, we are going to get it like that. This is the approximation band, S, and this is D. And then we are going to divide S to this one and this one, and to D to this one and this one. Let's apply this on Matlab now. In Matlab, we have just simple command, simple code that we have, which is first we read the image. It should be double because we are going to have large values, and then we are going to find the type of the wavelet that we are going to have. As the discrete wavelet transform, lifting wavelet transform has different families like Har and Basheer and others. We are using the Har, which is the simplest one, and the result that we obtained from it, it was also good. So what I'm going to do, if I write is integer is the lift wave, the type of the wave, I'm going to save it in a variable called is integer or any variable, which is what? Which is Har and integer to integer. This is the same way that I use now in mathematics. And then I'm going to apply this command. S1 from top to bottom, D1, S2 and D2. What are these? Are the 4 bands that we found. These 4 bands. Equals what? Equals lifting wavelet transform, this command, to the image Okay, using the properties that I have found of lift wave, which is har and integer to integer. And then I'm going to show, for example, S1, I can show D1, D2, any one of them up to that. So let me just copy this and paste it. I think, okay, let me just run it again. Now, if you see that the original image, let me do it again, just to paste the image here. The original one before and after. All right, figure one. Show. I will show the image. And let's figure two after the wavelet. Okay. Look, if you see that this is the original image in figure one, and image two is the wavelet. If you see that it's a quarter of the size of the original image, this is the approximation band. You see that we have smaller size, but in the same properties of it. If I'm going to show, for example, D2 instead of S1, and just run it, see that this is the details band. We can zoom it to see this is the mountain surface. This will help us to get the high frequency coefficients. By the way, if you are talking about the human vision system, that it's less sensitive to noise by these areas than the areas where it's just as blank, like this one, which has just a gradient change. This is how to apply lifting wave transform using Matlab. But here I used the lift wave as a function that is built in MATLAB. But what if I want to use any programming language? I want just to use simple code. So we can use this code. All of it just to construct, for example, D and S. Let me just copy this. Oh, it's not explained here. If you see that this code is not that difficult, it's just to go to the image and find D. If you see the same equation that I'm using here, it's found in this place. I use image of 513 equals 0 because, as I told you, if we are out of the boundary of the image, the last pixel should be 0. And then I go step by step. And D old, if I equal 1, D old equals 0, that means D of I minus 1. If the I is the 0, for example, the previous one will be 0, and the new is the current D. And finally, after we find all of the D's, we are going to find the S with the same equation as that one. So this is how to apply the lifting wave transform. We are going to apply it the same way, but we can apply it on the rows and column, and it will be applied easily. For me, I was using this method because I had to convert this code, the same of it, to be used in VHDL in my project. So it was necessary that I can understand it all from one step to another, and it will be necessary for anyone want to create a mobile application. For that reason, they want to create it in another programming language that has no features of lifting wave transform as a built-in function in Matlab. For me, I will not go further because our next part is to go for image tamper detection, inshallah, which is more important, which is the subject that we have, but it relies also on the lifting wave transform that we explained today. If you have any questions, any suggestions, if you want to want the slides to be prepared for the next or tomorrow workshop, you can ask for that. And I'm going to leave the mic to Dr. Salita. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Taha. I think for today's session, Dr. Taha already cover on the basic introduction of image processing using Matlab, as well as how to apply lifting wavelet using Matlab. So we have a continuation for the session tomorrow on the Tamper detection and manipulation. Okay, but before we go, because we still have half an hour, around 20 minutes. If you have any question about the presented content, so please share with us your question, or if you have any feedback regarding the workshop as well, just let us know. You can just let us know directly. Anybody? Um,
Okay, by the way, if we have different specification or different areas of work, we can just think about how we can connect the image processing with other yeah, of course, Mr. Pishtuan, we can share the PowerPoint file. I'm going to share it with Dr. Zaida, so we can share to the all emails of participants, of course. I want to we are going to think about how to can integrate image processing and digital images with other fields of work. Maybe we think of that will help us to make a cooperation between one field and another, in civil engineering or in any other part of image of engineering or IT. It will be just great to talk about this and to make a cooperation. And as we know that images now are, as we said in the beginning, are involved in more than one area and it has a very wide distribution. Thank you for your comments. Thank you, Dr. Jebasa. I'm very glad that you are here. Thank you, Pashtuan. Thank you, Ste Khadija. Thank you, Dr. Dujan. Thanks for all that's participating with us. And if you have any suggestions about tomorrow presentation, you want something to be added to the that interest in image processing, we can discuss it by tomorrow, but you can suggest it for today. You can contact Dr. Sarita for any information for that. Thank you very much, and I'm going to leave the mic again to Dr. Sarita.
okay, thank you, Dr. Taha. So anybody would like to share some of their thoughts? Okay, for your information, we have the continuation of next session using the same link as well, the same Google Meet link. So I won't be email you any new link. So tomorrow, just join in using the same link. The same time, 2 to 4 Malaysia time. How about Iraq time? Maybe 9, is it 9? 9 to 11 Iraq time. So I'm very honored that you all joined this online workshop session. I think I don't have any more to deliver, but if you have anything, just on your microphone, no problem. Or we
Thank you, dear doctor, for this valuable information. I'm just asking also as a suggestion, I'm asking you if you permit this, can we relate this imaging process with the dental laboratory?
with what?
In the dental laboratory, as you know, in dental laboratory,
Oh, dental.
in
Okay,
dentistry
yes.
field.
If you are talking about how to the filling of the dents, okay, of teeth, how to the texture of it, how it can be appear. If that's related to the dentists, the texture type of the filling, yes, I think we can do that because we can use this in analyzing the texture of the image. So if you have this connection, if you have information about that and the different types of the filler of the teeth, it's related to the texture, of course, we can take advantage of that. This is one reason that came to my mind. Maybe you have more of that. So of course.
Taha, I mean, in the laboratory nowadays, most of the technicians, they are using technical devices that is related to the imaging. like centering technique, laser centering, all of these that is related to the how we restore the teeth, like crowns and bridges or removable prostheses. After they take the impression from the dentist, nowadays the dentist send the impression as digital impression, not as physical or addition silicone impression. Then they are entering this digital imaging in processing a long process duration. I don't know in detail what is it. So can we focus on this for tomorrow, or?
Maybe we can talk about image enhancement for that reason if you are going to get the images. But if you can provide us some of these images and how and some ideas of it, how if the operation that's working on this area, so we can just figure it out. If you can email it to us, what type of these images, so we can see what we can do for them. Okay, and we can shout out.
Inshallah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. I think it's very interesting as well, because as long as it have this digital image, I think many modification, enhancement can be done to digital image. But we also have to be aware about the I mean, after we apply the process to the image, for example, we have what are the application that is related to that. So we need also to know what is the requirement of those application, for example. So as someone who's not in the field of dentistry, it might be quite difficult to understand, but maybe with the help of, for example, if you can share with us some images for the X-ray images, for example, and then what are required from that images, I think maybe that can help in order to relate with the tomorrow assessment exercise, something like that. I hope that one will answer your question.
And as long as you send it to Dr. Zaid, I'm going to receive it, and inshallah we're going to have something for it.
Yes, you can just respond to the email of about this when I send the link to everybody. So you can just respond to my email. I will go through the content as well. Okay. Any question anymore? I think there's a question for. Oh, in the Shamin, thank you. You can come tomorrow. I will give the certificate for attendance lah. But maybe after 2 days, after finish the whole session, then I will give the certificate for attendance. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. So any more feedback from the participant? If not, I think Dr. Taha, do you have anything?
Thank you, Doctor. Inshallah, going to continue by tomorrow, inshallah.
Okay, so hopefully see you tomorrow at the same time as well. Okay. Is there? Do you want to say something, Mr.
Dr. Jefferson?
Dr. Jefferson?
Yeah. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yes, Doctor.
I know. I want to tell that Dr. Taha Basheer is my student.
Okay.
I'm proud to tell.
I'm proud you are here, Doctor. I'm really glad that you are here. Thank you.
Actually, I'm from India.
Okay.
And he's a very good student. Not
Yes,
a very good student. And during his studies, MSc, he did his research using this Matlab. And even he taught our students also, and for teachers also he taught Matlab. So really I have to appreciate, and today's presentation is really wonderful. I hope tomorrow this also will be get benefited. And thank you so much. God bless you. And God bless this university which is organizing this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for your.
Dr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Jefferson is my supervisor in my MSc, and by the way, Dr. Rizalita is my supervisor in the PhD.
Oh,
So I'm very glad that both of you are
very
here.
nice.
I'm very happy for that.
Dr.
Thank you.
Jefferson, maybe we can have another separate session, maybe to discuss further collaboration with your university as well.
Sure, sure, sure.
Okay, so I will email you later since you already have contact with Dr. Taha. So maybe we can
Of course.
set
of
another
course.
session lah. Okay, thank you,
It's a
Doctor,
great
for
pleasure.
responding,
Thank you.
for joining as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Doctor.
Okay, actually we are almost at the end of the session. Okay, so hopefully if no more feedback from the audience, I think I will log off for this session. So thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow for the second session, continuation of this image tampering and image manipulation. Thank you, Dr. Taha. I think Dr.
Thank you.
Taha will share the slide after the second session tomorrow lah, to all attendees today.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Yes, Doctor. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody. Thank you very much.